You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Former Syracuse great Eric Devendorf had some choice words during this game. Eric Devendorf, for those that don't know, played for Syracuse from 2005 to 2009 and was a very, very good player. Dare I say, a great player, like I just said. He was the color commentator in this game. So he's sitting courtside watching it. Look, he had some choice words. And before I get to my thoughts on them, I'm going to put the statement of what he said on the screen, and then I'm going to read it to you guys for those that are listening to this podcast, not watching, okay? So here it goes. From Brent Axe, and shout out to Syracuse.com's Brent Axe for transcribing this. Here's the quote from Eric Devendorf. I know they are struggling this season, and the fans are putting a lot of heat on Coach Red. But like I said, 20 wins the first season. This year hasn't gone as imagined so far. All you guys on social media saying this and that, you really have not a clue. What goes on behind the scenes and all the stuff they have to deal with, Coach Red is doing as well of a job as he can. He'll continue to get better. Okay, so I got a lot of thoughts on this because I was hearing what Eric Devendorf was saying, and he also went on to say that Coach Autry was, quote, doing an unbelievable job. Yes, you can go back and check the tape and rewind the game. He did say that in the first half. And he also had some comments about how it's tough with the transfer portal and NIL and the roster turnover and getting these guys to buy in. He had a lot of comments. But I'm going to provide some commentary on them. So shout out to Eric Devendorf for providing me some good content. Okay. First of all, I'm Jackson Holzer. I am a podcast host. Now look, I am a Syracuse fan and I am a Syracuse alum. And I absolutely love sports in general. Love them. Watch them all the time beyond just Syracuse. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know more about basketball than someone who played at a Division I level, especially someone who was really good in the Division I level. Okay, that's not what I'm doing. I'm just going to give you my thoughts on what his comments were. First of all, he says that the thing about the 20 wins. 20 wins is good. Don't get me wrong. 20 wins is good for Coach Autry, especially in his first season. But it wasn't good enough. See, I was encouraged with Syracuse basketball after last season. You can go back to those podcasts at the end of the season last year. They're very old, so please don't judge me on them. They're old. I promise I've gotten a little bit better since then. But I was encouraged and I was excited heading into this season. I thought at minimum this team could be a bubble team. At minimum, and maybe at maximum, if things kind of go their way, they'll be in the NCAA tournament. And who knows what they'll do in the NCAA tournament because it's the tournament, but maybe they can be like an 8-9 seed and hopefully you can squeak out a run to like the Sweet 16. Maybe that, right? Something cool. But obviously the year has not gone as we would have hoped. And 20 wins is good, but it's not good enough. They didn't make the NCAA tournament last year. To put it in perspective, here's the deal, all right? Let's say that Coach Autry sticks around Syracuse for 10 years, and every year they win 20 games. Exactly 20 games every year. But here's the kicker. They're never going to make the NCAA tournament in any of those 10 seasons. So they'll continue to win 20 games, but it'll never be good enough to make the tournament. Would you be happy? I don't think so. See, the goal is to get to the NCAA tournament and then to get to the Final Four and then to ultimately win the damn thing. So winning 20 games in year one, it was encouraging, but I'm not going to sit here and raise the pom-poms and everything after this season just because he won 20 games when that was not enough to make the NCAA tournament. If they had made the NCAA tournament last season, I would give Coach Autry a longer leash. I would. But they didn't. 20 wins was not good enough. The next thing that I would like to point out, and Brent Axe from Syracuse.com actually pointed it out. What's going on behind the scenes? See, Eric Devendorf, he said that we don't know what's going on behind the scenes in his statement. Well, what is it? See, that raises questions. If Eric Devendorf would like to explain to us, I'd be happy to listen. Please tell me. Tell me what's going on so that I can be more informed and I can be more educated and I can tell you guys, hey, this is what Eric Devendorf is seeing. This is what he is hearing from the coaching staff. This is what he's hearing from the players. But he makes a statement, and now I'm questioning what's going on. Is there someone above Adrian Autry that's maybe calling the shots? I don't know. I have no idea. How could I know now? Because he just raised the question without giving us the answer to it. And finally, rebuilds don't take a long time in college sports, especially in college basketball. They don't take a long time if you're a program that knows what it's doing. Go look at Louisville. Louisville fired Kenny Payne after 2 years. He was a disaster. 4 wins in year 1, 8 wins in year 2, and they let him go. They said no more to Kenny Payne. And this season, they hire Pat Kelsey. They already have more wins this year than they've had last season and the year before. They are a much better team. Are they going to make the NCAA tournament? Right now, they're on the bubble. They just got a nice win at Virginia. That should certainly help them. It was a blowout win. Louisville's a better team now. They fired their coach after 2 years. It seems like their next guy in Pat Kelsey might have been the right choice. Rebuilds don't have to take a long time. How about Michigan? Michigan was awful last season. Do you remember how bad Michigan was? Terrible. Well, now look at them this year. They bring in Dusty May, and they're back to being a pretty good program once again. Actually, they're better than a pretty good program, but you get my point. I'm not trying to... You get my point. They're a much better team this season. And like Louisville, they already have more wins than they had the previous year. And the guy that they fired was Juwan Howard. Juwan Howard had made the NCAA tournament in 2 of his previous 3 seasons. His first season, they would have, I think, made the tournament, but COVID happened, and so the whole postseason was canceled. 1 year, I believe they were a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Did Juwan Howard deserve a longer leash? I don't know. But they decided to fire him, and it looks like it was the right call because they brought in someone better. See, that's the thing. Rebuilds don't have to take a long time, especially with this landscape. You can get better in 1 year with the transfer portal or a high school recruiting class, and vice versa. You can go from being outstanding 1 year to being absolutely garbage the next year. See, a lot of you guys who are followers and listeners to this podcast, you guys grew up in the age where you'd recruit from high school, the players would stay for 4 or 5 years, and then they would go. And so a rebuild would take a long time because you needed your players to come in and stack recruiting classes. But in this day and age, it's every year is different, and every program deals with the same. Rebuilds don't have to take a long time, guys. All this to say is this. Look, I don't think Adrian Autry deserves another year. And I have gone through fact and fact as to why I don't believe that. His recruiting rankings are strong, yet the results are not there through 2 years. You can make intelligent points about how Adrian Autry should come back for another season. You can argue that to me, and I will listen to it. Hey, Jackson, I know you want the coach gone, but if you fire the coach, well, you better have a really good backup plan because you might lose the 2025 recruiting class, which is top 10 in the country. Okay, I'll listen. I'll listen on that, right? Hey, Jackson, you're maybe being a little bit extreme. I think Adrian Autry deserves one more year. He deserves one more chance. I think firing a coach after year 2, it's not quite Kenny Payne because Kenny Payne was 4 wins and 8 wins. Autry did win 20 games last year. Okay, fine. I'll listen. I still think he deserves to be gone, and I respectfully disagree if you feel that he should come back. But my point here is that, saying that we don't have a clue, I would love for Eric Devendorf to explain why. Why don't myself and many other fans have no clue? That's what I would like to know.